So we finally got our dad to try the Apple Vision Pro, and so he's in his early 70s.
Yep.
And last weekend we got him to try it. Took a lot of explaining first, so he understood how to navigate it. But then once he put it on, and we got some of the 8K 180 3D stuff that Apple has built in, he was like, started watching that, and he was like, whoa, like he was like, this is neat.
It's dad actually genuinely impressed.
Yeah,
and not just like, wow.
You get that hint of excitement, which he's actually really impressed, even though like you don't, because he doesn't express himself that much.
Mm-hmm. You think he's going to get one?
No, he's not going to get one because of the cost. But the other thing was interesting though. Then he starts, as he's watching it, and he just watched like the little demo reel of like a bunch of stuff. He's like describing everything he's seeing. He's like, oh, now I'm looking at a soccer game. Oh, look now. It was funny.
It seems like someone in the early 70s, how they would react to it. Yeah.
Yeah. But you think about like he probably remembers like like going from black and white to color.
Yeah.
Right?
Like that's insane that just happened in the middle. You could have just been watching TV and it just like, it's insane. They just like did it one day.
Hey, welcome back to Screen Time. I don't need love. I've got something better. I'm your host, Josh, and I'm with me my co-host, Jared.
Happiness is not always the best way to be happy.
Nice. And today, if you can't tell from those quotes, because they are a little more obscure than some of them.
They are, yeah.
Because we're talking about Intolerable Cruelty. But before we get into that, I have a little bit of feedback.
Oh, right.
So this is from Lynn from Maryland. And he's talking about Miller's Crossing, which we covered, maybe 6 weeks ago or something,
Still relevant. We're still doing the Coens.
Yeah, still Coens, yeah. So he was surprised and shocked that we didn't, I didn't care for it too much. He mentions me. I can't remember. Did you like the movie more than
I liked
think you
it?
Did.
I liked it like at the end.
Yeah.
I think it was like, it kind of went up for me because when it started, I was like, man, this is not good. But it grew on me.
He says like he loves the movie and likes it for the dialogue and the fact that the plot is very convoluted, which I think is one of the things I didn't like about it.
It is convoluted.
But hey, it's all right. Agree to disagree.
Yeah.
He also says that the question is, did Tom actually engineer all the outcome, or was it just coincidence and he just rolled with the punches? He thinks that he engineered it all. And
that would be a lot too.
Yeah, and he feels like he feels guilty about it, and that's why that's why he doesn't want his forgiveness, and he tries to sabotage his own self. And why walking away at the end, he has his hat on after the decision to walk away, is make the point is emphasizing that he, knew and was in control of it. So
okay, that's cool because I was wondering if there was some. I knew the hats had like some meaning because it was focused on a lot in that movie, so that makes sense for the ending.
And then he just says Carter Burwell is a fantastic composer and True Grit is pure genius, which we haven't gotten the True Grit yet.
Yeah, and I've never seen that movie, so
just kind of one to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm still kind of waiting. Like I don't want to put him on blast because he's not a bad composer. It's just he hasn't done a whole lot in a lot of these to like really get a feel for, his kind of style. So that's why I haven't really been talking about him too much yet. But
yeah, well, thank you, Lynn, for your input. And of course, if any of you would like to send us some feedback. You can email at feedback@screentimepod.com or leave a comment and on YouTube or send us a DM, something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be nice to start
having more of this.
every episode with some feedback. That'd be cool.
All right, well, let's get into Intolerable Cruelty. 2003, rated PG-13, and an hour and 40 minutes. So a little shorter, about the same length as Fargo.
Yeah. The last movie, was that 01?
Think so.
Okay, I was trying to think like timeline wise, because Oh Brother Where Art Thou was 2000, and then only a year later for The Man Who Wasn't There, and then we're now at 2 years. Okay.
Also, just a little note. I think I have this down here. Since we're talking about it, where did I put the note? So this not to jump ahead, but I'll this is Roger Deakins as well, and I started to think at some point around this point he started working with I'm drawing a blank, the other guy we just covered, Sam Mendes.
Oh yeah.
And so I was like, well, at some point he's doing double duty.
Yeah.
And so his first movie with Sam Mendes was Jarhead.
Yeah, and that was 05, I think.
Yeah.
So that would be right after.
Sounds right. But no, he does one more movie with these guys.
Oh, okay, and that's it?
No, he does some other ones, but like that's before. So there's
gotcha.
one more movie, I guess The Lady Killers, which is our next movie, is Deakins, and then Jarhead it goes in there, and then I guess it's a little back and forth, or I mean, it could be
definitely
could be some released in the same year, but like
because I feel like he had to have done No Country for Old Men because that movie's beautiful, so I can't imagine it wasn't him.
Yeah. So anyway,
and I think that would be next actually after because that was 07, so we got The Lady Killers, then No Country. Yeah, right.
I think there's something else in there.
Is there?
I think. Lady Killers.
Which, by the way, Lady Killers, another one, like Hudsucker. Never heard of it. Have no idea what it is.
Yeah, you're right. No Country's the next one.
Okay.
But yeah, so we anyway, so got a little sidetracked, but so synopsis for this one: Miles, a high-profile divorce lawyer, wins a case for his rich but adulterous client Rex Rexworth. But Rex's ex-wife, Marilyn, who is no saint and is a gold digger, plots to take a revenge on Miles.
Yeah.
That's pretty much,
that's
the
pretty
movie.
much the movie, yeah.
So Joel and Ethan Coen, we have some other Robert Ramsey and Matthew Stone and John Romano as the writers.
Okay.
So they didn't write this one. But then.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. When I get into my overall thoughts. Okay.
It's good to know. Cinematography, Roger Deakins, as we were talking about, Carter Burwell as the music.
Yep.
Production cost $60 million.
Holy crap! Why?
It had to be some, like maybe the cast a little bit. I don't know if
sure,
but George Clooney and even Catherine Zeta-Jones. I don't know.
Oh no, they were both huge at this point.
So maybe they drew. There's a lot of locations. A lot more locations that don't look like they were studio, but
yeah,
so I don't know if that. And then
I still though that's insane.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you because then you're like Fargo was less than 20 million.
Yeah,
and then of course maybe they really did shoot it in California and stuff that's maybe more expensive than I don't know.
Wow.
Even Billy Bob Thornton, he probably pulled a little more money this time around.
Oh, for sure.
So I don't know. It's interesting. It's always always interesting.
I know we have to. I have to look it up and see if there was some. Maybe there was some. What do you call that? Oh, like reshoots or like just production trouble.
Maybe it'll come up in the trivia.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Because
I don't know. That's wild.
Yeah, I agree. I was like, oh, when I saw that, I was like, man.
This is still 21 years ago. 60 million. Wow.
Yeah.
That's about what the creator cost now.
No.
Well, it was like around that. I think 70 or 80 million maybe, but that looks like a couple $100 million movie cuz yeah. Wow. All right.
Yeah, it's a little seems a little off, but unless there's a typo in IMDb.
I guess that's possible. I don't know. Or Clooney and Catherine Zeta-Jones just got
a payday.
Paid, yeah.
Yeah, so main cast, George Clooney is Miles, Catherine Zeta-Jones is Marilyn, Jeffrey Rush, Cedric the Entertainer, Edward Herman, Paul Adelson, Richard Jenkins, and then Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you have anybody else? Those are the ones I...
No, nope. That's everyone that I recognized anyway.
Cool. So, what's your overall thoughts on this film?
This is, well, we said, I think last week, it's another one that I don't think either one of us knew anything about.
No.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I was not familiar with this film at all.
Me either. This, trying to think how I want to start with this. I think, in my opinion, this movie is wildly uneven.
Okay.
So I was thinking about it, like when it was going through the movie, like especially the way it starts. I was like, this is bad. But I understood it was cartoonish, but like not in a good way, like the Coens did. I was like, this is just bad and weird.
Well, they didn't have a voiceover, so they didn't know what to do. No,
there it is. Yep, that's what.
It was like a thought I had. Like when I was like, because I was like, this is rough. Like this opening,
man. And so, and then as it goes, because I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, this is the vibe, and then from there, so it starts off very cartoonish. Then it kind of goes into a courtroom drama, and then at the end, it's a rom-com. It was very weird to me, and I the whole time I was trying to figure out, I'm like, okay, what is the vibe of this movie? And I couldn't really ever settle on it. There's some scenes I liked, and there's especially a couple actors that I thought were great in this, but just overall, I was just like, man, this is kind of a mess of a movie. I didn't look at the IMDb rating. I'm wondering, I can't imagine this is that high on the Coen's list of overall, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What'd you think of this movie?
Kind of with you on that. Like, it's just okay.
Yeah.
Like you kind of alluded to. I think there's some standout scenes that I enjoyed, but overall, yeah, it was just kind of, and definitely that opening. I was like, that
was like the worst part of the movie, I think.
What are we watching? But then I mean, like I said, there's some scenes, and we'll get into them.
Yeah.
That I was like, oh, that was fun, and that was funny and clever or whatever. But yeah. So, well, let's get into it. Because like the opening scene is one of the things I wrote down specifically that I thought didn't work, because it's also very like just cliche too.
Very, yeah.
And like like you said, it was kind of cartoonish, but like not a good way. It was not. Yeah, it just didn't set. And I mean, for when you're setting up a movie, you just not like you want to start on a good foot, the right foot.
Well, and that's kind of what I wanted to mention. Also, is it just doesn't feel like Coen Brothers, because they, we've been talking about, they like to add in some of that cartoonish, but this didn't seem like that. And then when you said there's different writers, that kind of makes more sense then. Obviously, they're still directing, but the dialogue did seem different than like a typical Coen Brothers movie. So that makes sense, because they didn't do any writing. It was all, right? They weren't credited at all? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that in specifically, which is so weird, because so that guy which the actor's Jeffrey Rush, who is an amazing actor, but this role is like, what are you doing, dude? Like, this character was horrible that he was playing. Like, it's just was, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he's shooting out the window. I don't know. It was just.
I know.
So what else? You can go over some other things we thought didn't work before we get into stuff we liked. Thought the whole Vegas wedding stuff too.
Yeah,
but just weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. And I mean, part of it's like, I guess he was supposed to be smitten with her or whatever, but like, they set him up as such a like clever guy,
right?
And then like to let her pull one over on him so easily.
That easily, yeah.
I was just not buying it. Like I was, and that's all what happens there in that, I guess the third act or whatever, and where he's like excited to see her there and knows that, but also like, so that was the other, like my other news, because that overall, like I knew the plot as soon as Billy Bob Thornton came into the picture. I was like, oh, he's hired act. He's not really wealthy, and she's going to set this up to trick him.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, I was like, I knew basically the rest of the plot at that point, and so it was like not very clever in that sense.
No, so I think, towards the end also, the other part I just thought was weird and like definitely like a scene that would be in a rom-com, but I thought it was very cheesy, was his whole speech during the that was towards the end too, in front of all the what was it for?
The conference that he was supposed to be the keynote speaker for.
Yes.
Yeah.
That too, I was like, this is you know what I mean? It was wasn't great. And it was supposed to be very profound, obviously,
right.
because everyone what they do afterwards, but I was just I don't know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. It wasn't.
I have I really only have 2 notes like for positives, and then my other notes are just like talking about specific characters that I really like. So we can get to that whenever you want.
Yeah, no, that was my general like things those are like the 2 scenes, and then just the overall like plot. Like it was just like seemed predictable to me, but
yeah. But. Do you feel that way too? Like just the overall. Because obviously, I mean, we'll get into cinematography and score, and then even like them directing it, like, so that's all still there, but like it just didn't feel like a Coen Brothers movie. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I guess a lot of that has to do with the writing as well.
It did have like they did have
some elements of it,
like yes, it has to do with the writing, but like I did think it had like kind of the lack of a way to describe it, like the pacing, like they still had the people talking kind of fast.
Oh yeah.
Which is something they must direct, like bring and ask for out of the actors, right? To have them speak quicker and kind of almost over top of each other. And
yeah, they do that a lot in them. But what's weird is then they have some that's like the complete opposite, like Blood Simple and No Country's like that too. It's like very slow, so it's like there's no in between. I've noticed that with all their movies. Actually, Miller's Crossing, also very no. I guess that was a good mix because there were some scenes that were very slow, but then you had like the one character where she's talking like super fast. So I guess that was a good mix of both, but I don't know. It's interesting seeing how differently, well, even the genre of all their films is it's like so different all the time. It seems this one included. It's like they haven't done a movie like this either.
Trying to like a romantic comedy, so to speak. Yeah. So the scenes that, so I think, and it kind of goes into this, but I think both Catherine Zeta-Jones and George Clooney did a great job in the film.
Oh yeah.
And so the first couple scenes with them together, like the first scene where she comes into the mediation or whatever you want to like, and then like
that was a good
he
scene.
First meets her, like that was good, and then he takes her the date,
mm-hmm.
the first date where it's like not a date, but they have like dinner.
Yep.
Thought that scene was really good. The so I love the portrayal of like the senior partner like slash owner, the old guy in the room with like.
Oh, that was so weird too.
Yes.
I didn't. So you liked that?
I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. Like I think it worked for me as a humorous thing because even like when they're flashing like to like almost like he has like.
I did. Yeah, I
like skeleton coming through and stuff.
That's funny that you mentioned that because when that happened, I was like, did I actually see that, or was that? It was almost like that kind of moment at first.
I mean, I could see where it wouldn't work for you, but that because that's another cartoonish thing, and
it is, and it still didn't. I don't know. I guess that is a little more their kind of cartoonish style, but I just thought it was very random. I guess it is. It does seem more kind of along the lines of like Hudsucker.
Yeah,
because you kind of see that kind of person. I mean, this is a little more extreme version, but I guess it would be kind of more towards that. Yeah,
and I think all the characters are pretty extreme, like extreme versions of themselves, right? But love the courtroom scene with the Baron.
Yeah.
That was
that's what I mean though. Like, so that was like a pretty long section of the movie, and like the scene leading into that, and the scene afterwards. I was like, that's what I mean. Like, that was another like pretty big shift in like the tone of the movie.
But I think that was some of the stronger stuff there.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I love the dialogue, in that scene between the other lawyer and then the judge and then Miles or George Clooney's character.
Yep.
And then just like the dynamic there, and he's like, I object, and like they're like, for what?
Yeah.
And like it was done well.
That was good. Yeah. The judge just kept letting him keep going the whole time. Yep.
And eventually he just like was almost, he didn't even wait for the judge to. He like answered for the judge.
He did answer for the judge.
That was funny.
On that last one, yep.
And then the scene with the hitman when they try to stop the hitman. They realize like they don't want him to kill her because she's inheriting all the money from the other guy, and so that means she has more money than George Clooney's character had, and so then if they got a divorce settlement, like he would get more, get money from her, and
Is this the specific law they kept talking about?
Well, the law. You talk about their prenup,
right? But what'd they call it? They call it some specific. Shoot, I should have wrote it down.
Ironclad prenup. Yeah.
No, but there was something. I don't know. Anyway, they kept bringing it up. A specific it was either a law or like a rule that every lawyer knew about. I can't remember the name of it anyway.
Yeah, I guess what they called the prenup. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
no, it was something besides that though. It was some name or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what. If it's not, well, but remember she tore it up.
Yes.
And then, so then it's not in play. So which means then you normally have to split the assets.
Right.
So really, whoever's got the larger income is gonna have to give money to give assets to the other. So that's where like she thought she was gonna win out, but then she got left all that stuff in the will from the other guy because he never changed it or something. When he dies, the trains guy. I just love trains.
Oh, that guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things I didn't really care for Cedric the Entertainer's character. I thought that was pretty.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like I knew, like I think the character itself, like on paper, like written for. I don't think I liked his performance.
Yeah, I liked. He was one that I did like the character and like what he was doing was funny. And even the end, like, it makes sense he would have his own game show, you know, or whatever.
That was funny.
Yeah.
It's like when she pitches that, yeah.
But again, that's another, like, it's like so over the top version of what his character was. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But what he kept saying, like, nailing, what did he say? Because Catherine Zeta-Jones, she kept saying it too because she hired him. Mm-hmm. It was like his catchphrase or something. Yeah. I can't remember, but yeah,
it was something like funny. Nail their butt or
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, when they try to stop him, and then he's and the guy, then he tries to use his inhaler, and he gets him confused, and
yeah,
he shoots himself. Like I thought that was funny. And it was just like that because he starts shooting, and they're ducking, and they're shooting, and
yeah,
because they pepper sprayed his face or whatever.
Yeah.
And even that when they're sneaking around, and then they back in the show, like the way that was blocked and choreographed and stuff was good. Mm-hmm. But yeah, those are just the main things I kind of had listed for the things that.
The only other character I wanted to mention is Billy Bob Thornton's character, because, I mean, we've seen him in other things too, but it's just like his personality was just so funny in this, and the way he talked, and it's like, especially going from the movie he was in just before this, I'm like, man, I forgot how good of an actor he is and like how much range he has, because this is so different.
When he puts the barbecue sauce on the prenup,
that was
and
good.
Eats it.
I actually forgot about that. I should have put a note about that. I'm glad you brought that up. That was great.
It was great. It was great.
I really had I just saw the barbecue sauce. I'm like, what? I have no idea what's going to happen. That was, yeah. Yeah, that was good. So yeah, he, although this is, speaking of, kind of a full circle moment that we were talking about before, Billy Bob Thornton's one of the main characters in season 1 of Fargo, and I think it's one of his best performances ever. And again, another one now I'm thinking about is very different. So obviously he's been in a lot of things, but I just haven't thought about him that much, and it's just, I just forgot, like, he is a really good actor, and I'm sure he has won for something, right?
I don't know. We have to look it up.
I mean, he's been around a long time. I imagine he probably has won at some point.
He probably at least has an Emmy.
Yeah. At least one. And then the opening credits was fine, whatever, but I just wanted to mention the song because it's a great song, Suspicious Minds by Elvis. So it was a good song choice for the opening credits. And then I think this was like the humor in this one scene, I think, is the best part of the whole movie, and really I thought was the closest to like Coen Brothers humor that I really like. It's random. I think it's like right in the middle of the movie. It's when Miles is playing tennis and he's just holding the tennis racket there, and the ball's in there, and he's having that conversation. Yeah, I thought that was great how they did that. That was really good.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And that felt more like their kind of comedy. Yeah.
No, it's a good scene.
Mm-hmm.
Having someone talk but doing something else too. It's like good. Yeah.
I think that's what's the other thing? Oh, the original ex-husband, not Jeffrey Rush, but the other guy. I mean, he was just so weird anyway. Mm-hmm. But like at the end, like how he dies is just so random. That scene too, it was just like
they're just like jumping on like I don't know what it was.
I don't know what it was either, but I was like, this is so random.
It was like a projection of trains or something. And
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the guy. Yeah, the guy loves trains. I mean, that I guess makes sense, but it's still just such a weird, such a weird scene for that to happen. And it kind of was like, that was like right at the end too. Yeah. Just kind of out of nowhere, that part. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Yeah, he was a weird character because
Mm-hmm.
because the first time, because he gets caught by Cedric and Entertainer's character. And
Yeah.
he's in that random hotel or something,
Yeah.
yeah, crazy.
Which that actually, well, I don't know if we're gonna get into cinematography now, but this is something I always wondered about, a scene like that, because he's holding a camera in the scene with a light on it, and he's like running around that room with them. Like, I want to know from like your perspective, like how much goes into that, because you're already figuring out the lighting anyway that you want to use, but then you got to deal with that the whole time, and him just running around with it too, and like, how do you make that look like the best you can? Right, because the room's pretty dark. Yeah, it's at night, and there's not many lights on, I don't think.
Yeah. So, so you've got, you could, so in reality, like, it doesn't have to be the same light, right? Like the light that you use when you see it from the POV of the camera,
right,
can be a different light than you actually use when you see the outside perspective of like the whole room, and you see the character, Cedric Entertainer's character, with the camera on his shoulder, like
with the light on
a light on it. Especially because then, depending on how it's done, like that light could seem too bright or whatever. So like you can control. So you would theoretically could shoot the scene more than once and capture it separately. Now, if you could balance it all, get the exposure you want from the one and the other, and do it all in like one take each time, and use the footage in that camera, because it might even be the same camera. Like,
right.
You could not just switch out the light, but you could swap out the camera with a different camera that's going to capture what you want versus what the old VHS camera did, and then you degrade it in post and make it look however you want it to look.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know what they actually did, but you have options.
Yeah.
Like you fake it from the one perspective versus the other. And
yeah, and I'm thinking, so I guess I think we talked about this a little bit during Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Like, I was thinking about this time period now, like early 2000s, like where we were at with like specifically when we're talking about cinematography and cameras. Mm-hmm. I think we did talk about it in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Oh yeah, actually you're talking about it because
they digitized all the film and then color graded it in post.
Yeah, and I was wondering how that, like, was that like a normal thing then or not, or how difficult would that have been, 25 years ago almost now or something like that.
Right. I think because in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It was a little bit more like cutting edge then, but that was in the late 90s, right? Whereas then
that would have been shot probably 99, yeah.
And then this, just a few years later, but it's a lot. It's, what was it, 2003?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So by then, you had even inexpensive HDV cameras then.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
So Final Cut Pro existed then, and Premiere probably existed then. So by that point, you could, with a Mac and Final Cut Pro, you could edit stuff,
Okay. So at this point, even this early on, they're already switched and not shooting with film.
Oh, they're probably still shooting on film.
Okay. But they're digitizing it, is what you're saying.
Probably.
Yeah.
Because if
unless it's like a movie, they want it to look old, and they probably just keep the film, right? Like,
yeah,
for that feel, if they want to do that. They might have
started digitizing it after, because it starts to get easier to edit and do all those things too. So they might have, after they experienced with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, they might have just started doing that as a regular part of their workflow in post. I don't know.
What was it? Because obviously right after that was The Man Who Wasn't There, and I know we talked about that was filmed in color. Mm-hmm. But then they decided to do it in black and white. But I can't remember if we talked about anything in that one about the actual film process, because that one looked very different too. That one looked like amazing. Like that one especially, I was like, I think that's one of the best visually so far.
And really nice.
And it was black and white too. It's like,
yeah,
which, man, I'm going to talk about that again when we do our TV podcast about a show I've already mentioned before. I'm going to bring up again about insane visuals that are in black and white. But yeah. Do you have? Are we getting to cinematography?
We can, since we're kind of talking.
Yeah, I don't have any other notes, but I was wondering. I don't really have. I only have one shot that I thought about, but I was wondering if you had anything.
So I have a few little things, but so up front, I just want to mention that I think in general, from a cinematography standpoint, it was all pretty straightforward and typical character-driven stuff. So it wasn't a lot of like, let's frame this thing really pretty, or there was a lot of more just like what you would standard shoot like for dialogue coverage and things like that.
That's why I didn't really have much, because it just seemed like
that
nothing
in general. Now, like some of the stuff like the dinner scene, the first time they have dinner and the lighting and that, I thought it was really nice, even though the framing wise it was again still pretty standard. The lighting and stuff was pretty nice. And then there was something I didn't like. I did this twice. It was in the opening scene with Jeffrey Rush's character, where they're talking on the phone in the car, and you see the windshield of the car, and you're outside of it, and they're shooting so that there's like this major reflection of like all the trees and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Above, and so you can almost barely see the person in the car, and it had to be an intentional thing, because they do it again right after that, shortly after that.
Yeah,
with Miles, George Clooney's character, who's also driving in a car, and
that's true. They do
twice, and I just didn't like it. Like I was like, what? This is like some weird creative decision that
is weird. I didn't really think about that too much, but that makes sense. That is weird. You don't really see the character then. But yeah, it has to be. It's not like something that they, especially with him, it's not like something he's like, oh, whoops,
No.
So yeah, I guess, I don't know. Probably some storytelling reason, like, oh, we need to obscure this character for,
I don't know. Or just sometimes you make creative decisions like that because you thought, hey, that could be interesting, and then later you're like looking back on it and you're like, hey, maybe that wasn't the best thing to do. I mean, it just happens. But yeah,
I thought at first you were gonna say they did the whole through the car front end that just had no mirror in it, like you were saying in Raising Arizona. I thought you were gonna say they did that again, because I didn't see that this time. But
I don't. There wasn't a lot of car dialogue, like people.
No, but I mean, like even a scene like that. Although that you wouldn't be able to do that, because that would
very obvious.
It'd be very obvious, for that kind of view. But yeah. No, I guess there wasn't really any other point of view.
Major like people sitting in cars talking. But so what was? Yeah, you said you had.
I have one that Man, I'm gonna try to explain it the best I can, because it was very interesting of a shot that I hadn't seen done much before. So this is near the beginning when they're in the diner, and it's like the start of the scene. Do you remember this like shot? What happens at the beginning of this? The way the camera moves. It's I believe it's like straight down view, like at the table. Or however, what would you say that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that
overhead view?
Overhead. Okay, there we go. But then it goes, and it's like, I guess it's on some kind of swivel, or what would you have it to do? Because it comes down, but then kind of like does almost like an angle, like how you would do like a Dutch angle, but then like swoops down and then goes up to, I think, George Clooney's face. It does this really weird sweeping motion, but also turns in a weird way too. So that one, I was like, that was a cool little thing. And then it went all the way from there, and then went really close up to George Clooney's face.
I don't remember that.
And then after that, that was it. That was like it. Then it was just normal shots. But it's just the opening of that. I was like, oh, this is interesting because it's something I haven't seen before. But
I didn't pick up on it when I was watching. But
okay,
that could be. So you can. I don't know when these became more popular, but and maybe in this case, maybe they were shooting with a digital camera because obviously this is when these became more possible. But they have robotic arms where you can like program a movement like that. But again, with giant heavy film cameras, it was less likely to use. So maybe
that would make sense. Them like experimenting, like doing that intentionally because it's like a newer thing to try some weird, cool shot like that. Yeah. It does seem like it's something like that. Yeah, it moved in a really interesting way. Like, definitely some kind of swivel thing, so that would make sense if it was a robotic. Yeah. Would you say a robotic arm? What is it?
Yeah.
Is it like a...
Yeah, it's just like where the camera...
So it's like a... okay, I see those before. I've seen.
And there's like multiple spots, and so then it can just kind of... You program where it's going to start here, and then you tell it the path that it goes, and then they're used also a lot to do like I don't know, if, as example, like food stuff where you want it to fly up and like so then you can trigger stuff to be done the same, and of course the camera moves exactly the same because it's all programmatic robotic arm, so you can repeat a shot over and over and over again and know that the camera is going to do that movement exactly the same every time. So then that doesn't move, which then maybe makes certain things like VFX and other things a lot easier if everything is lined up exactly the same each time for the camera. So then you can like they talk about a good example is like Ex Machina when the main robot girl or you can like see through her and and they shot everything twice. Now I don't know if they use a robotic robotic thing, but like everything they shot it with her there and not with her because it's easier to just make it see through and put the plate of the same shot but without the use that to like see through. So in those instances having something that's very precise and not moving differently than the previous shot, if you're going to match them up, you want it to be the same, which is why it's a lot easier to do it if you don't move the camera at all, and then it's going to be the same in a simpler production. But if you want to do complex shots, then a lot of times you just do programmatic dolly and arm moves, and so that then it does the same thing every time.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to find that scene. I think it's near the beginning of the movie and show you it because it was. But yeah, that was the only shot that was like very different than the rest of it. Because you're right, it was very. That's why I was like, am I going to have anything for cinematography? Because it's very basic, like you said.
So what about music?
There's a little more this time. I liked the vibe of it because when it was there, it was let's see, how did I write in my notes? Oh, it kind of reminded me more of like a 1950s kind of drama with the not just the sound, but like some of the instruments they used, which makes sense for like some of the feel of the movie, but at other times, because they would have this even like in the courtroom scene, I remember hearing a part of the music there, which I thought sounded good, but seemed weird for a courtroom scene. But I did like what he did with this when there was music. I liked the style of it more than some of these other ones. Although I think so far, Fargo I think has had the best. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Score-wise, I would say so far. But yeah, so there was more though this time. I was really trying to see how much they left out for scenes and how much was actually in it. But yeah, it was interesting to have that older feel to it. And maybe again, Coen's like do this a lot. Maybe they were trying to go for an older feel type of movie with this. I mean, that would make sense for the goofiness. Like if they wanted to try to do like a 50s romantic kind of comedy. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have any notes on music. Like I just.
Well, it still wasn't like a ton.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering how much more. It was more than normal, at least, than he's been doing.
So themes and messages.
I mean, don't be that kind of woman that's just
Gold digger.
Yeah, a gold digger that's just going through how many husbands was it?
I don't know.
I mean, she was on her third just in the movie itself, right? 'Cause she started the one guy, then went to Billy Bob Thornton, and then she was on to Miles.
Yeah. So 3 in the movie, but I think that guy wasn't her first, right?
No, there was more than that, but even just in the movie it was 3. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Don't get married.
oh yeah, there you go. Don't get married. Yeah.
No, so I did make a note on this.
Oh, you did? All right,
yeah.
cool.
So I think that the crazy over the top things that people will do for their desires in life. And so, whether it's money, power, love, sex, like I think like everyone was going extremes to. Now, originally it was power for Miles, but then eventually he, I guess, switched over to love. I mean, I don't know,
kind of obsession too.
Yeah, I was
like
gonna say like more of an obsession, like sexual thing, and but then maybe turned to love at the end,
right.
Because then he changed kind of who he was, so to speak. But like a lot of the other characters, it was either power or money or sex. I mean, like as the guy the train guy, like he was, I guess that was probably all he was worried about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyway, and so he was doing crazy, goofy things to.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is kind of this whole movie, just in different ways. Yeah.
So that's what I came up with for that. Let me find the trivia here. I should have brought it up.
Oh yeah.
Any other final thoughts for those of the bringing up trivia?
I don't think so.
Yeah, the one thing I was thinking about is like I haven't seen Catherine Zeta-Jones in anything in a while.
Yeah, me neither.
So, I mean, she might have been stuff I just don't watch her.
This was kind of like her prime though, because like was around that time. Because I always think of what is it called, Entrapment?
Right. Yes.
Like that was the big one, and that was like what 2000.
Mask of Zorro.
Mask of Zorro. Yeah, those were all right around that, like late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. Yep.
All right, so trivia. So Catherine Zeta-Jones tried to mimic the style of Katharine Hepburn for the romantic role.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Billy Bob Thornton speaks very fast in this movie because his character in The Man Who Wasn't There speaks very slowly. They did the same thing with Steve Buscemi and Big Lebowski and Fargo. Interesting.
Yeah, true.
And yeah, very. Marilyn's line, dismiss your vows, your feigned tears, your flattery, for where heart is hard, they make no battery, is from William Shakespeare's poem Venus and Adonis.
When did she say that line? I'm trying to think about it. I don't remember that quote, but
here this kind of plays a little bit into what we were talking about, like originally set to be helmed by Andrew Bergman, which I guess means directed or whatever, and then starring Richard Gere and Julia Roberts.
That would be like the ultimate rom-com if it was Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. That might have been an even bigger budget because they were huge at that time too.
Oh, this is cool. So the beeping sound effects of Herb's medical equipment are taken directly from Stanley Kubrick's 2001: Space Odyssey, specifically the radar sound effects of the Jupiter pods.
That's awesome.
Screenplay was written by Robert Matt Stone and then refashioned by the Coen Brothers. So they did, I guess, do some kind of refashioning in the mid-90s. Initially, screenplay was attached to Ron Howard and then Jonathan Demme. I don't know how you say it.
Jonathan Demme, yeah.
Planned to cast Julia Roberts and Hugh Grant. So that's different than what I said earlier. But.
Those are some pretty big directors, too. So I believe Jonathan Demme is the director of Silence of the Lambs, which is like an incredible movie and still holds up extremely well.
Here we go. This is the first Coen Brothers film to be edited using digital technology instead of the traditional analog.
Yep. Okay.
So.
Is that it?
Just like, yeah. So the judge shares the same name as the main female character in the Coen Brothers movie, The Lady Killers.
Okay. Oh, we'll see, because I don't know anything about it.
I know, but I just thought it was interesting because that's what I Sarah's house is the same one from Last Action Hero.
That's cool.
So a line from Herb's speech to Miles is inspired by Gettysburg Address.
Okay.
They say Catherine Zeta-Jones was pregnant with her daughter when they filmed this, because they filmed this right after Chicago.
Oh. Okay. Wow, I didn't.
So she must have been pretty early in the pregnancy.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea. So, okay.
When Wheezy Joe shoots himself, the glass behind him has a hole in the shape of a heart where the bullet went through. Oh, yeah, I noticed this and forgot to mention. Bruce Campbell can be seen acting alongside Billy Bob Thornton in the soap opera.
Oh, I did see that too, yeah.
The soap opera they see in there.
Yeah, that was cool.
They figure out. So
I thought they were, when they showed that on screen and he was pointing at it, I thought they were going to make like a ER joke or something, since,
well, it was kind of like that.
It kind of was, yeah, because he was, mentioned it to him, but like, I figured, because this was, what? ER was like all of the 90s, right? So he probably just was coming off of that, like, probably still pretty fresh in everyone's minds.
Yeah, and definitely, culture thing. Yeah. So, no, I thought the same thing also when I saw it. I was like, oh, it's poking fun at ER. George Clooney. Yeah. So who knows? I'd be curious if that was like originally in the script to be like a medical drama, or they were just like, well, we need to show him acting something. And then once they had George Clooney cast, they were like, oh, it needs to be a medical.
I'm sure that's probably what they did. Yeah.
Just funny, the Bruce Campbell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so not the best.
No, this is pretty low on the list for me, I would say.
Especially after a nice run of like solid stuff. I mean, obviously Fargo and Big Lebowski topping the charts.
Oh, yeah.
But then even, like you said, the Man Who Wasn't There.
Yeah, I really liked The Man Who Wasn't There.
And then even Oh Brother, Where Art Thou was fun, So to then kind of...
Yeah, I think this might be a lull because this next movie, I mean, I haven't seen anything about it, but
if you've never heard of it, it's probably
I don't
for
know
a reason.
Although I never heard of The Man Who Wasn't There.
That's true.
So,
that's
and
true.
Ended up being...
And our Hudsucker Proxy, which I really enjoyed as well. And Intolerable Cruelty I had heard of.
You had heard of it?
Like it sounded familiar.
Okay. Yeah.
And even seeing the cover art for the film, I was like,
the
I
cover kind of looks
this. But I mean, it was the early 2000s. I mean, I was an adult and was starting to be aware of things, I guess, like in culture or whatever. And they were both, like we talked about, they were both, pretty popular.
Oh yeah.
Actors and at the time. So
The cover though, like, and that's what I mean because of like this movie. I feel like changing the genre and the style so much, but like the cover is very much just a rom-com cover. So like I thought that's all it was going to be, but it's interesting.
Yeah,
it's a lot of different things.
Yeah, and not for the better, maybe.
No, not really.
Well, let us know what you thought of this film if you've seen it or watched it.
Yeah, let us know if this is like one of your favorite Coen Brothers movies.
Yeah, somebody might love this movie out there, you know. And of course, if you want, you can send us email at feedback@screentimepod.com or send us a DM or leave a comment on YouTube. And of course, if you don't already, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and make sure you don't miss an episode. And if you want to follow us or message us on Instagram, I'm at JYoungBar.
And I'm at Jared Youngbar.
All right. And we'll talk to you guys next week about The Lady Killers.